This takes him into 0. With a real boxer, a real world champion boxer, that the only other time he was in for the fans to get mad with that was against Fury's, Tommy Fury, but it wasn't that level, obviously, and all the size things you just rightfully pointed out. But he would have been in there with, I mean, it seemed crazy.
Gervonta Tank Davis has surprised fans with a shocking new body. Ahead of his fight with Jake Paul, known for his explosive power and small build, Davis has taken his training to the next level. He's bulked up with more muscle, and it's got the boxing world talking. Recent gym footage shows a noticeably bigger and stronger Tank, leading many to believe he's preparing to match Paul's size and power directly.
We were yelling so much about him fighting someone, fight somebody your size. His next opponent is, by far, the most credentialed guy ever fought actively in his prime. There's one problem. He fights at 135 pounds. He fights at 135 pounds.
As his fight with Jake Paul approaches, Gervonta Davis has turned his training into a full-on battle against weakness. He's mixing heavy strength workouts, hard sparring, and intense conditioning to handle his new size. Reports say he's been lifting heavier weights and doing compound exercises to add mass to his core and upper body. At the same time, he keeps up his speed and footwork training to stay sharp. Davis is also sparring with larger, stronger partners some close to heavyweight size to get used to fighting bigger opponents.
Yeah, this Santa Cruz right here, you can't let it burn, baby, let it burn.
Mind over matter, son. Mind over matter.
This is the blues on.
Ain't nobody doing no shit like this. Come in the desert. Nigga trying to stay away from the desert. He come in the desert.
When the night is
Camera.
cold and low.
Oh, you see it.
Light camera action.
And fighting for the
Light action. Camera.
Come on, Tank. Come on, Tank. Turn him out. Turn him out, Tank. Dig down in there. Dig down in there. 10 seconds. Don't think about it. Don't think about it.
This is the final thing.
Remember that gun on it? They got that gun on that tank. They go time.
When the night is cold and low.
He ain't gonna keep you here late tonight. Good job.
It's been hard being away from my daughter. She actually here, she sleep. Just being away from her, it was a little touchy, but I know when I'm up, up against, I know that I got pay-per-view, I know I'm fighting a tough opponent, so really I know how to lock in, I know how to shy away from everything, I know how to, I know how to fool around.
I said 10
No, don't do that. I can't go on TV looking like that.
However, Jake Paul is naturally a much heavier fighter. Their fight will have a 195-pound weight limit, and both must use 12-ounce gloves. Davis, who usually fights around 135 pounds, faces a huge size gap. Many experts worry that adding too much weight could slow him down and reduce his speed and explosiveness, his greatest strengths. Critics believe that chasing size might actually hurt the unique style that made him such a dangerous fighter.
Jake Paul, Tank Davis fight got moved to Miami.
I think Jake wins.
Jake's just so big, dude.
I think Jake wins.
This is different because it's similar. It's similar to Logan versus Mayweather, but
Jake has
Jake
better
Paul
boxing.
now obviously is way more advanced than where Logan was at that moment in time.
I mean,
Gervonta
it's
is
just.
fucking sick.
I mean, yeah, no, but dude,
Did
Jake.
you ever watch his highlights?
Jake can
He's
crack,
nasty,
man.
bro.
He's so sick.
He's
I love
nasty.
that guy, bro.
Tank is not the guy that knows how to sell a fight. Tank cannot sell a fight in his own division. You have the Paul brothers and they come over to boxing. Their idea from day one is we don't have the skills or the experience. What we're gonna do is we'll take on the absolute best guys, but they're gonna spot us some pounds. Tank has one job to do, that it doesn't make any difference, that boxing is a real sport. My skills versus your skill, of which I am an abundance of and of which you have none of. Hank is telling anybody that will listen that there's a size problem. My skills and my experience in boxing, I do not have to wonder who's in the bar tonight. Any bar I go to, I rule the bar. No, it turns out that you don't. Just need some big guy to corner you, apparently. Boxing has never stood its ground. Boxing has never been able to explain why Floyd needed a half hour to get rid of a guy who's never boxed before. Hank Davis has already began this. When you choose a dum-dum, don't be surprised when he goes out and acts like a dum-dum.
UFC President Dana White didn't hold back when asked about the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight. He said few people are truly excited for it, but admitted the matchup could still help Tank. Davis has had negative headlines and lost momentum recently, and this offer from Paul gives him a chance to grab attention again and make money. White said while many mocked the fight, it might bring Davis exposure and cash when he needs it most. He added that Paul's height, reach, and strength could let him push Tank around, using clinches and pressure to limit Davis's attacks. White called Davis a talented boxer, but warned that fighting someone from a much bigger weight class changes everything to him. This fight isn't just about boxing, it's a test of whether Davis can survive Paul's physical dominance.
Is picking Jake Paul to beat Gervonta Davis. This is not a fight that I'm excited for at all. I would rather have Gervonta Davis fighting in a real boxing match against the likes of Lamont Roach, Shakur Stevenson, Keyshawn Davis, Emmanuel Navarrete, anybody that is in the 135-pound division and around. That's who I want to see Gervonta Davis fight. However, we live in a world where everybody is trying to do things as big as possible. And the biggest fights possible right now, unfortunately for the sport of boxing, is an exhibition fight between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis. So I do like it for this reason, though. I like it because it is allowing Gervonta Davis to have a fight that is going to be big and that the mainstream media is going to have to cover, the mainstream media outside the world of boxing. Gervonta Davis has been, without a doubt, blocked, having venues blocked, having fighters, having other promoters paying fighters away to go different directions from Gervonta Davis. So Gervonta Davis was in a bit of a hole. And he gets an opportunity to fight Jake Paul for $200 million or whatever. I don't mind it at all. As long as Gervonta Davis comes back to the world of boxing after he gets done with this, hey man, you got your money, no worries. But you gotta love Dana White having the audacity to pick Jake Paul in this fight and says something to the effect that, hey, he was talking to Logan Paul and said, hey, when you were fighting Floyd, you know, there was this, you're a gigantic guy, big size difference. There was a time when Floyd Mayweather Jr. had an overhand right that landed flush on Logan Paul.
Bare knuckle fighter and ex-UFC star Mike Perry slammed the rumored fight between Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul. He accused Davis of taking an easy cash grab instead of going after real boxing challenges, questioning if Tank still has the hunger that made him a champion. Perry said fighting a YouTuber turned boxer shows Tank cares more about fame and money than his legacy. He even suggested that Jake Paul might now have more drive and focus than Davis. Perry's comments reignited debates among fans about whether Tank has lost his fire.
Jake is big, Tank has a lot of skill, but I don't think he's the same Tank that we saw the most incredible knockouts. We saw him, Lamont Roach performed great. They went to draw and, I just don't know. And Tank walked away. I don't know if he loves it enough to beat a guy who outweighs him by 80 to 100 pounds.
During his face-off with Jake Paul, Gervonta Davis looked unusually nervous, a rare sight for the confident knockout artist. Observers noticed his stiff posture, little eye contact, and forced calmness, saying the big size difference might have shaken him. Facing the much larger Jake Paul, Davis seemed to realize how tough the challenge ahead could be. Some fans said he was just staying focused, but others felt his attitude showed hidden doubt.
Tank looked very uncomfortable facing off. He just did. I've seen other face-off this Tank done. He gets in their face and they're intense and he looks good. He looked very meager up there. You've had 8 fights and you're gonna go tangle with Tank Davis. And the story instantly comes out. Jake is so much bigger. There is such a compliment to Jake within that insult. It is meant to be an insult. It is meant to take away from a potentially glorious moment for Jake. But where the compliment comes is it means the public believes he's gonna win. That's what it means.
Boxing expert Teddy Atlas talked about the Davis-Spall face-off, pointing out how massive the size difference really is. He joked that Tank is so small compared to Jake that he'd need a ladder just to reach his chin. Atlas said some size differences are normal in boxing, but this one goes way beyond fair limits. He compared it to Canelo Alvarez moving up to fight Terrence Crawford but said even that wouldn't be as extreme. In his view, Tank's short reach and smaller body make the fight look more like a show than a serious sporting contest.
Things, right? They should also have like the size of the ring, the size of the glove, all that stuff. Particulars should be in the contract. But I would probably look for one thing that is not the common thing to have in a contract if I'm Tank. A ladder. A ladder. Can I get a ladder? Somebody? You know what I mean? Hey, look, if he hits him on the chin the way he can punch, Jake might be doing a dance. You know what I mean? Not voluntarily either. Well, but we'll get into that more later. The thing that I'm talking about right here is what you said. It was stark. The size difference was really, you couldn't ignore it. We understand the talent difference, the experience difference. We understand all of that. But the size, the pure, and we understand small guys can beat big guys. We just saw Crawford do it to Canelo, but a little different. The size difference was, it was eye-catching, jaw-dropping. And it made me think, and I'm going to ask Richie, our man here who's doing all the taping, who does such a marvelous job. I'm going to ask him, because I know he's an expert in this area, but it reminded me of one of the Rocky movies where they had where they did the wrestling thing with Rocky and Hulk Hogan, a.k.a. Thunderlips. He was Thunderlips back there. And I thought I had it right, and it was confirmed to me. It's Rocky 3.
Shocker Stevenson didn't hold back when asked about the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight, calling it bad for boxing. The undefeated champ said the matchup makes no competitive sense and is just a money move, not a real test of skill. He added that the huge size difference makes it more of a circus act than an actual boxing event.
Maybe he'll fight Jake Paul instead. What do you think of that?
I think that's terrible.
Why?
I get it, because at the end of the day, it's the money business, and you want to make the most money, but from what I'm hearing, he can make more money in a fight with me, and if that's the case, why not fight me?
Sure. Do you think he beats Jake Paul?
Do I think he beats Jake? Yeah.
There's a huge size advantage, though.
It is, but I think Tank got the skills to make sure he come out on top.
Do you think that Jake has gone better?
Yeah, I think actually Jake got tremendously better from the time frame that he started till now. And in the right situation, I also could see him become a world champion.
Really?
Yeah.
Leonard Ellerb said Tank Davis was going through personal issues and didn't want extra pressure at that time. That lack of motivation is why the fight didn't happen, even though fans expected it. Ellerb explained that Tank was more focused on fixing his personal life than proving himself in the ring, and avoiding that fight helped him stay away from unnecessary stress.
Leonard Ellerby said, to tell you the truth, Gervonta Davis couldn't get up for Lamont Roach. And what does that mean? It means that he could not get inspired, that he was not motivated to fight Lamont Roach, that his mind was not in a place where it was like, yeah, okay, let's get it. And he was going to war with Lamont Roach. He was going through the motions with Lamont Roach during the training camp and could never really get himself motivated to really give the best of himself against Lamont Roach. And that probably affected him during training and during the fight. And that is something that can happen, especially if you really look back on what happened with the Lamont Roach fight and all of the ups and downs about that fight being made. Because first, if you recall, he wasn't supposed to be fighting Lamont Roach. The person he was supposed to be fighting was Vasily Lomachenko. You know, the guy that everybody says that he doesn't want to fight, that he didn't want to fight. Gervonta Davis was up and prepared to fight Vasily Lomachenko.
Jake Paul's boxing career seems more about showmanship than pure competition. Instead of fighting ranked boxers or chasing titles, he picks opponents who bring viral attention and money. From retired MMA fighters to smaller boxers like Gervonta Davis, his fights create headlines and social media buzz. Paul mixes entertainment and sport, ensuring high viewership even when the match isn't fair. The biggest concern about his fight with Davis is the massive size difference. Paul has fought bigger men before and naturally carries more weight, giving him an edge in height, reach, and power. Meanwhile, Davis, only 5 feet 5 inches and around 130 pounds, is known for speed and punching power in lighter divisions, making this matchup seem completely uneven.
Holy shit, Jake Paul versus Tank Davis is actually happening. What the is going on? I guess Tank is going broke because that's the only justifiable reason you ruin your legacy against a guy like Jake Paul. And yes, I do think Jake Paul is going to win. Tank Davis is a much better boxer and has crazy power, but he's 5'5", 130. That power is not going to carry over against someone who is 6'1", 210. And it's not like Jake is bad. Yes, his fights are boring. He says he's going to step in the ring and sleep his opponents, but the only people who end up sleeping are the audience. Mike Tyson fight. But at the end of the day, he's a big guy with power who's training boxing full time, and he has beaten some legitimate competition. Woodley, Nate Diaz, Anderson Silva, Mike Perry had a competitive fight with Tommy Fury, but it's crazy how particular Jake has to be when selecting his opponents. They have to have enough clout to be interesting, enough skill to be taken seriously as a threat, but at the same time have clear weaknesses and disadvantages that Jake and his team can exploit to win. Now that he's fighting an elite boxer, he has to fight someone 7 weight classes down. I mean, Tank could win if he makes Jake do a very aggressive weight cut, but I just don't see that happening. I got Jake by 3rd round TKO. He should put me on the co-main event and allow me to fight Francis Ngannou. That would be an easy first round knockout for myself.
MMA veteran Nate Diaz dismissed the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight, saying he had no interest in it at all. He said the event isn't a real fight, but a show made just for pay-per-view sales. Diaz criticized modern boxing for focusing too much on money fights, saying it damages the sport's reputation. He argued that matches like this are built for entertainment, not real competition, which is why he can't take them seriously.
I gotta ask you, Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis. Does Davis have a chance?
Gervonta is a great boxer, but he ain't gonna do.
So you got Jake Paul by knockout, or?
No, I don't got anybody, but I don't think.
He's just too small.
It's just. I don't want to beat up somebody that small. I don't want to. You know what I'm saying?
What do you think of the fight?
I don't want to lose to somebody else. There's no point in the fight. It's a great fight, actually.
You think
I'm
it's
not
a good
hating
fight?
on the fight, but I think. My thoughts on it is let's watch it and see what happens.
Ryan Garcia said that boxing's turning into WWE.
Yeah,
with that type of matchup. What do you agree? Last thing, White House card, like he said, you want Conor McGregor?
Yeah, but the whole thing's on WWE, so
right.
It's like, at least that's happening and it's getting something to talk about, something to watch, and I'm looking forward to that fight actually.
Michael Bisping raised strong concerns about Jake Paul fighting Gervonta Davis under such extreme weight differences. He said Jake is preparing to face someone nearly 100 pounds lighter, which breaks the fairness of boxing. Bisping mentioned how Jake's earlier fight with Mike Tyson already seemed strange, since Tyson is 58 and long retired. Many fans are frustrated that these odd fights keep stealing headlines. The Paul versus Davis matchup, he said, is another example of how boxing is turning into entertainment rather than real sport. Promoters now care more about viral events than meaningful fights that decide true champions.
Heavier. That is at least 65 pounds heavier than you. That is called one thing. That's called being a bully. It was bad enough when he fought Mike Tyson, a man that was 58 years old, and he was walking around like, I just beat the baddest man on the planet. I just destroyed Mike Tyson and went out there and I beat him, and him and his brother are all celebrating and shit like that. It's like, dude, what are you doing? What don't you understand about this? If you want respect from your peers, if you want everyone on the planet to look at you and take you seriously and give you credit as a boxer, you have to take on challenges that are real. You have to go up against someone that keeps you up at night, against someone that gets you out of bed in the morning to go for a run because the fear of them beating you down is real. Not going up against someone that is so small. If you were to go up to this guy in a bar and try and start a fight with them, people would look at you and say one word: whoa, 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 stop being such a bully. Leave him alone. You are way bigger than this guy. And that's clearly what we have here. It is ridiculous. When you look at the tail of the tape, Gervonta Tank Davis, granted, a very, very skilled boxer, a world champion. He's had some great wins. He's had a tremendous career. He's got 28 knockouts on his record. I'm just looking at the tail of the tape here. 30 years old, Jake Paul, 28. Gervonta Davis is 5'5" tall, whereas Jake Paul is 6'1". I would never dream on picking on a guy that is 5'5" tall. Granted, there's some tough guys out there that are 5'5", okay? They're smaller guys, you know, but for 5'5", they'll pack a good punch. Typically, they're mixed martial artists or boxers. Yeah,